Hi, welcome to Dreaming of Chess Mastery. I'm Neil Priest, and this is my YouTube channel that explores the world of adult chess improvement. Of course, no boards or split screens in sight. I approach things from a philosophical, psychological, pedagogical, anecdotal sort of angle. A lot of chat and hopefully you'll join me in the conversation. Now, during the week I was listening to one of the podcasts that I do. There's a few that I particularly enjoy. Depending on the guest, very often Ben Johnson's Perpetual Chess podcast, Dr. Chan Kabadai, his sort of pedagogical chess podcast, fantastic, and also Grandmaster Avatik Gregorian, the Chess Mood podcast, all very good stuff. And on one of them, can't remember which, as I say, but on one of them, someone was talking about how chess training is hard work, but for that reason, we need, the stuff that you do needs to be made enjoyable. Otherwise, you're not going to stick to the training. And I've heard a lot of people talking about this, and I thought I'd push back a little. Because I don't think it's good advice. I mean, it's lovely advice, and the more enjoyable that your chess training is, I suppose, there's an argument, the better. But I think it's dangerous advice, and I thought I'd explain why I have that viewpoint in this video. I suppose the easiest way would be an analogy. Now, as with so many analogies, this is going to be a little contrived, a little forced, perhaps the word that you would suggest, ridiculous, but I believe it will illustrate my point. Let's try and compare chess improvement to physical improvement, getting fitter, healthier. Imagine you were trying to lose some weight, get physically fitter, improve your personal well-being. Perhaps you'd had your annual health check and the doctor had said, I suggest seeing a cardiologist. I'm at that sort of age. And I warn you, they may have some bitter pills to swallow. Well, let us just imagine you're in that situation. You decide you're going to go on a diet. Now, would the advice, of course, you've got to enjoy your diet, otherwise you're not going to stick to it. Would that be good advice? Well, yes and no. If it means that, for example, when a doctor suggests you need to eat green vegetables, and you decide that you're going to, for a recipe, you're going to make a choice. Perhaps choosing spinach or broccoli would make a huge difference because you don't like broccoli and you do like spinach. Well, of course, the meal using the spinach, assuming that these two vegetables are interchangeable, of course they aren't, but just bear with me. Yes, that would make a difference. But if, when you were thinking about this new diet, you said, well, I need to include some sort of leafy green, so what I'm going to do is just gently persuade the young gentleman or lady to put on an extra lettuce leaf on my burger at the burger joint on the corner of the... No. That's not going to do it. You are going to be doing a little bit more of the green leaves, but you're missing the fundamental point. And in fact, I suspect that when you look at that healthier diet, assuming that you're in desperate straits, like me, you were eating far too much red meat. I mean, here in Brazil, it was one of the things that astonished me on one of the first nights out in Brazil. I went to a local churrascaria, which is, you pay a fixed sum, and then there's these waiters coming around with enormous skewers of the most fantastic beef, just slicing it off to your preference. And boy, oh boy, what a feast, what a treat, and very cheap. Well, you end up eating too much red meat. And at that point, when you try and cut back, it's not going to be fun. Alternatively, if you're improving your physical conditioning, and one of the elements at the local gym is that your instructor suggested you're going to have to do so many minutes on the treadmill, and you've got to push yourself to this point, your heart rate elevated, etc., etc. Now, you might be able to swap it for the rowing machine, and perhaps you enjoy the rowing machine a little more. But what you can't stop it. You can't stop it. You mustn't stop it if you're going to get fitter. What you can't swap it for is something that doesn't elevate your heart rate. And I think I'm sort of circling around, and you get, I'm sure, what I'm driving at, that serious chess improvement lies the other side of some point where you push your thinking into an uncomfortable place. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that you can't improve your results by perhaps some small little hack, a neat and tidy blunder check. And sure, that neat and tidy blunder check might just save you 1 or 2 points every 20 games. And over time, your rating might push up a little, but you will very quickly sort of exhaust the gains of that blunder check. The same way that you might learn a new tricky, trappy opening and occasionally catch someone out in a game that otherwise you wouldn't have won. But the gains are relatively small, and although your rating might push up a little bit towards the upper end of your sort of the ceiling of your plateau, because our ratings do float around, I suppose, in general, 100-point margin, something like that. Our underlying mean level performance in, the good days and the bad days. But in, I don't know, avoiding blunders a little better, or learning some sneaky new opening, I would argue you haven't exactly become a much better player. You've become a better performer. Perhaps it's the same thing. But what I mean is that I suppose we could view chess improvement in a different way. And I was thinking about this. Because if your rating does go up ever so slightly, and you continue to just improve it by greater experience and little, I suppose, improved thought processes or things like that, are you not improving? I guess you are. But I'm thinking of adult chess improvement in a different way. Rather, consider this. Imagine a player that at the moment, a playing strength, a class of player, who is essentially beyond all comprehension in terms of, or all possibility of beating them. And what is the sort of lower boundary of that sort of player? Let us just take, for example, you're a 1500 strength player. On a really, really good day, perhaps, when you're playing at your very, very best and someone else has a little bit of a dip, maybe you'll beat someone who's 1700, 1800. But there's probably a level where, short of the person sort of getting called away to an emergency and losing on time, or making their 1 in 100 blunder of a queen, there is some sort of level where you just cannot imagine yourself beating someone. So, in that framework, that is a sort of, that class level up is what I'm talking about in terms of adult chess improvement. When you move from one level to the next. And I don't believe that we do that by just steadily chipping away. At a certain point, in order to make that progress, you need to do something profoundly different, and that is think in a fundamentally deeper sort of way. Or you need to calculate on another level. Now, to do that, quite simply, you need to put yourself through a wall of discomfort. And your training, your study needs to reflect that. There's no way around it. Now, if I go back to my ridiculous example at the beginning, there might be some sort of study that is more like the broccoli that you tolerate than spinach that you gag upon. I hope you don't. Spinach can be lovely. But there might be. Perhaps it's a phase of the game. A very interesting book in that regard is Jonathan Hawkins' From Amateur to IM. And the key for him was endgames. He found he loved studying endgames. He filled notebook upon notebook and really went on a deep dive. And it just pushed him onto a whole new level. So in that case, you perhaps argue, well, that's the thing that he enjoyed doing. But I imagine that those long evening sessions of analysing endgames were at times mind-bendingly frustrating, almost painful for Jonathan Hawkins. But it was a sort of pain that he was willing to tolerate. And I think that's what we need to find. We need to find an area of the game that we really do love, but then we need to double down on it. We need to do sessions where we push ourselves well beyond our tolerable comfort zone in that area, whatever it might be. Doing 3 tactics a day is maintenance. I'm not saying it's not a good thing to do. Again, forcing the health scenario, drinking, 5 glasses of water. Yes, it's a good thing, but that is not the thing that is going to make a profound shift to your physical well-being. It's part of your sort of general maintenance of a good, healthy state. And I think adult improvement what we need to do, what we all need to do at some point, is for a period of time commit all in, and go through the sort of the pain and suffering that is necessary to kind of break the mold that we're in, to reshape, reformulate our thought patterns. So that's it for this week. As always, I would love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, trust you're enjoying your chess. And until next week, from a, actually slightly overcast Brazil, ciao.